I was on a gig or on a show as a musician, as a recording artist to one of my friend and my brother to Kogi State, Kaba. And we had a nice time. So I said, okay, should we travel by air? But I said, Kogi, if we travel by air, we have to go through Abuja and come by road. So by road from Abuja to Kogi is another few hours. So let's all of us just enjoy the ride. So we took a mini bus for about 9 of us. We branched in Akure, everywhere, enjoyed ourselves, musicians, artists. So just 20 minutes to the town of Kaba. We saw like a road. In fact, I think a minute we passed a military checkpoint. So when we saw a military checkpoint, not even a police checkpoint. So when we saw the road, so we were moving, thinking that, this place should be safe. Just after like 2, 3, 4 minutes, it was a bit of a bumpy road, but everybody is the normal road that people travel as, So I said to myself that, should we go? This road looks like, but we saw people passing the road, so we forged ahead, and we were going. But I noticed like a Fulani man in front, by the roadside. So I didn't really know what it is exactly, but
How would you know he was a Fulani man?
Yeah, first of all, I grew up in the north.
Okay.
Yeah, I started my primary school in Jos. No, in Kano, went to Jos. I went to Kaduna. So I'm a bit, familiar with the northern style and stuff like that. And, to crown it, I'm a musician that has traveled. I've traveled all over the country and all over the world. So I knew, I know that they rear their cattle and everything. So I was just going. The more I approached the man, the more I was uncomfortable. And I was looking at my mirror, looking at my back. So when we were almost close to the man, I stopped. The man double-crossed the road with an AK-47.
Wow.
Yep. So I looked at my mirror, my rear mirror, to look at my back. So as I was trying to reverse, 3 other people came from the back. So
were they in a car or still on that bumpy road?
On the bumpy road, they came out from the bush. We're in Kaba already. So as I was trying to go back, I couldn't go back, couldn't go front, because I noticed that they were carrying AK-47, cutlasses and machetes and everything. So they smashed. I was the one driving.
Wow.
They smashed my glass, both the screen and everything, with a big cutlass, and they cocked the gun. So at that point, we surrendered, and they marched 9 of us into the bush. 9. I've got 2 ladies, 2 female backups, so we were marched into the bush, and their faces were painted, 4 of them. So what they did was that they just say, you, and the first miracle God gave us was that the ladies were separated from us. So, and 3 others. So they marched 4 of us into the bush at around about past 4, quarter to 4. So that was how the whole thing started. Like a joke. So they destroyed the car, So one of my boys went back to the military checkpoint that I talked about earlier on for help. They couldn't get help.
He was able to escape?
No, they just took 4 of us and left 5 of them.
Oh, they took 4 and left 5?
Yes. Me and 3 other inclusive, they took us, they kidnapped us. So we started trekking. So I was talking to them in Hausa, and you ask me, why do I know that they are Fulanis and Nijers? Because, in Hausas, you can differentiate some Hausa language from the other one.
Yes.
Like Yoruba and Ijebu. So I know, because I lived in the north. So, but they can still speak Hausa, but not like our. So I started begging them, and, they were torturing us. That's even not the problem. So we trekked. Our first trekking was from that junction of that Kaba. We trekked for about, since about past 4, quarter to 4, we trekked till about 1 a.m. non-stop. non-stop. And one of my backup, which I don't want to mention his name, is a male. As at that time, he is a bit on the big side. He was losing breath, trekking for, So he told me that, Sati, I would like to, let me just end it up here because my tongue is already, it's dried up. I can't manage everything. So they were telling me in Hausa that, look, meaning we will kill him. It doesn't cost us anything, that he's been delaying our movement, that we're supposed to be covering some miles at every point in time, that he's been delaying our movement. So I was begging them, they would smack me the gun on the head, on the hand. I was begging them that so my talking drummer had to carry this, my backup singer, because he's lost everything. He said he wants to die. So they told me in Hausa that, okay, what they want to do is that if this guy is going to delay their movement, that they will kill him and sell his body parts.
Are you serious?
Yep. They said they are going to sell his body part, that since he's just disturbing us, that now, in my presence, the people that will come to pick his body parts, they will come, they will sell, so they are not going to lose. So with faith, we didn't even know what we were doing. We were just doing everything with faith that, well, this is the end. Because 4 of them were carrying AK-47. As at that 1 a.m., they took us to a bush. We didn't even know where we are again, but we had trekked from about 4 till about 1 a.m. the next day. So when we got to where they had to, because it's late in the morning, very, very late in the very dark, the bush, in the thick of the bush. So they lit up sticks for us to have lights and ray, bonfire. They tied us, 4 of us together. So my drummer now was telling me that, boss, you know what? We can overcome these 4 people. We are 4, they are 4. That this gun is not normal gun. The euphoria of the attacks and everything, we didn't even know whether it's a real gun or not. So they were telling me that, boss, let's run. I didn't know what came on me, because naturally I'm not always afraid. But I was just relaxed that, we are 4. If we run, they know this bush. We don't even know where we are. And do you know where we are?
Where?
They took us from Kaba. We're already at the Ondo Bank.
What?
We trekked from Kaba to Ondo Bank, because it was in the morning that we realized that we have trekked from Kogi to Kaba, to Ondo. Because when we woke up in the morning, I spoke to them in Hausa, where are we? They said we're in Ondo, that this is Ondo.
Oh, they were even interacting?
They were interacting. One was 24, one was like 26, one was like 28, one was like 29. And 4 of them, they don't live in the same states. One is staying at Ekiti, one stays in Kaduna, one stays in Kogi, and one stays in Ondo. They don't stay in the same place. Anyway, so as at that point, they tied the 4 of us, and one was in our front with the AK-47, one was in our back, one went into the bush, and one was cooking. I don't know what they were cooking. They were cooking some drugs.
Drugs? Wow.
I haven't seen the drugs. I'm 52 years old. I've played music for almost 37 years, if not more than. I have played with everybody in this country. I haven't seen such a drugs. They were high on drugs, and they were speaking their Niger language, because I understand a bit of Hausa, Okay, so my drummer was telling me that, boss, let's run. I said, no, let's be calm. What if we run and we couldn't make it? So when we woke up in the morning, very early in the morning, we now saw the gun. Thank God we didn't run. We saw the gun. We discovered that it was real AK-47 that has several cartridges. When I mean cartridges, some of these guns, when they load the cartridge, one can shoot this one shoot like 10. I saw it not because they're telling me. And I said, God, thank God that because if we had run, we are 4. Do you understand? We thought that the gun so that was how the journey started. So in the morning, they were beating us. As at that time, we already... They did. They said we should start. So they will go through all your phones, and call your contacts, they will give you the phone to call people. One of the things I must say here, and honestly, I'm not afraid to say it, each time somebody ring our phone, they will take the number and they will dial some network to know who the person is.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. Yep. So that tells us that they are not actually doing it on their own.
They're not illiterate either.
Well, they are not illiterate. They know what they're doing, even though they are not educated, but they understand what they're doing. And this is a cartel. This is a networking thing. They speak to the people in the communication world, in the network, because they were telling me that, Allergy, all this money, they're asking me, because they started from 40 million until about 5 million on the third day. They said that they are not the only one that are going to share the money. The military, the police people, the communication, because each time somebody calls me, they will collect the number and they will speak to somebody in the network to know
where that person is calling from, who the person
is. In fact, when they took the 5 million,
how did you even come up? How did you even come up with the money being in that thing? How did they get it? Was it transferred?
That's another story. They brought it cash to them. They told me that they will know if there's a tracker following the money. It's a serious thing. That's why when I heard about the Kaduna attack, my spirit just went back to what I went through, because I know what the people will be going through now. It's something that is hell. There's nothing to define it than is hell. Now listen, the funniest thing is that we were walking around. We trekked out of the almost 72 hours. We trekked for almost about 50 hours. Because each time you spend like 7-10 hours in a place, they will tell you to move to another location. They have people that is talking to them, monitoring their location. You know what I mean? So it's not just, it's something that is unheard of in this country, because my 5 band boys that were left went to report to the military checkpoint. My immediate elder brother is a prince, is a king. So he too was already connecting people. If you are, honestly, I'm sorry to say this, I don't have any other country, but if you are kidnapped, you're on your own. It takes God for you to come back. Let me tell you another thing that happened is online. After I was released, because our release was purely a miracle. The Oba, one of the Oba in Ondo, 3 days after I was released, was killed. The Oba of Ifon.
I saw that.
That's right. He went for a meeting, and on his way back, they shot him dead.
Just like that.
So this thing is not just ordinary. They can't kidnap you without the help of some certain key people, communication, military, When they took the money, they flipped the money, because there's a way they will know whether the money is being tracked.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's in my presence. They even gave me 5,000 large cash. Shiga mota da shi, zaka bi nan. I will pass this place and pass this place, and I will escape. I told them that, how do they know the roadmap of the bush? They said that they can trek anywhere in Nigeria without getting to the express.
Wow.
Yes, because I experienced it for 3 days. Because they picked us from Kaba. Then we got to Ondo, we got to Auchi Bank, we got to Kogi Bank back. They brought us to Kogi Bank, trekking. Because it's shorter to trek from that end than, because they know all the roadmap, because they are naturally...
They are bandits. Their job actually is within the forest.
That's right. And you see why each time where they are negotiating, they have people that they talk to. That this is the nature of the negotiation, this is everything. So it's not just ordinary. It is sad that the country that I belong to, that I'm serving, I've been playing music for over 3.5 decades in my country. I've had opportunity to stay in abroad with a green card, but I can't. This is where I belong. I feel great being in Nigeria. But guess what? Every of my friends all over the world now, they tell me, say, boss, you want to kill yourself in that country? Let me tell you, I just had a daughter 3 or 4 months before that kidnap. And I said that, is this the last thing? Because it's not something that you can... As I'm talking to you, I'm already feeling traumatized.
I'm even having headache just listening to this.
Do you understand what I'm saying now? The second day, we were in Ekiti, the bank of Ekiti. They said, are we hungry? Another side of the story is that for about 28 hours, we didn't have anything to eat. So, but because we've been trekking, you needed water and fluids. So we don't have option than to, because they know everywhere within those states, 5-6 states of that area. So we had to drink water that they used to clean their cow. We drank it. I took it. So the second day they said, yeah. And they are used to it because they are on drugs. They are fetish, because while we are walking, I was asking them that, aren't you guys tired? As a Yoruba boy, there's something we call kanoko. You might not know what it means.
What does that mean?
It means that you can decide to trek from here to Ibadan and the road will be shorter. And they told me that that's what they are, because this guy, they jazz a lot. I was with them. At times I wish I didn't experience it, but at times I thank God experiencing it and God sparing our lives, because you don't know the freedom you have sitting down. This is what you want, because we had to be forced to take such water. We were drinking it with happiness, because we lost fluid. We were passing out, basically, So the next day they told us, when it was second day, they said, do we want to eat? What do you want to eat? So somebody went to the market in Ekiti State, because we've left Kogi. Kogi, Ekiti, Ondo, the sheer boundaries, Auchi. So I said, where are you going? By the second day, they were talking to me a bit, because I can communicate a bit in Hausa. And they too they are not fluent in Hausa, but what I mean. Yes. So they told me that their father owns the land. That's deep. They say their father owns the land, and since they are not getting what belongs to them, this is what they resulted in doing.
I don't understand it.
Okay, because they said Fulani owns Nigeria.
How is that?
And whether true or false, because I was just listening, and they said that this place belonged to them from whether 16th or 18th century, and all of a sudden they are not getting what belongs to them, so they have resorted to kidnapping, adoption, and everything. And they said they only do 3 jobs. They kidnap, they join Boko Haram, and they do rituals. I said, what kind of rituals? Yeah. They said, what kind of rituals? They say, when they kidnap somebody and people can't really come to get them, or fortunately or unfortunately it resulted into death, so they cut their body part and sell it. That was why they told me the first night that if one of my guys slowing them down, they are going to kill him and cut his body parts. And now they will still make money. They are not going to run. They're not going to lose anything. So I wasn't arguing with them, because who dare you to argue? As at that time, we're already in heaven, because we already knew. In fact, we had zeroed our mind that, well, that's the last. Because, in fact, I remember we've said our last prayer more than 30 times.
Are you serious?
It's not something I would want my enemy to experience. So, one of them went to the market for almost 5 hours, because they had to trek from the thick forest. So, by the time he came back, he brought a gari and a palm oil and mixed it and said we should eat.
What? So they actually do business in the same markets that we go to buy.
They live like normal humans amongst us. The guy went to the market and came back. He went to the market, bought the gari and the palm oil, and he came back to the forest about 5-6 hours later. So when he brought the palm oil, I told my guys, how do you eat? So some of them had to rush the gari. So we were just taking the gari, and they said we should start to trek. Now, every time they want us to trek, they will smack us with the gun, and everything. So we started. They've been prior to now. They've been negotiating. People will call in, and I remember my boss, my pastor, will call in and he will be praying for them that, leave my son. Each time he calls in, after 3 or 4 times that my Oga calls in, I'll be praying that he should not call him, because
are you serious? He's calling to pray.
He's calling to pray. They will beat us after his call. They will beat us mercilessly. Say that man, he's just praying, with faith that, no, leave my children. I have no money. They will beat the hell out of us. That your God that is always calling and praying that.
Was there any time that the security operative even called, or did anybody reach out to the police, the army?
Well, there are 2 of my adopted mom that I wouldn't want to mention their name. They've made several efforts to the government, and they called. They were able to locate where we are. But what was said was that if they attack where we are, because we are many, they might be able to rescue, but they might lose some of us.
That's what they said.
That's what they said, because one of my auntie, mother, adopted mom, I don't want to mention her name, and I want to thank her especially, and few of the first ladies, they tried. They did all what they could, because they too, they couldn't believe that it's happening to Tosin, that they know. When you hear this thing, is a different thing.
When it happens to someone that is close to you.
And I think few days to that time, I spoke to the first lady, which I wouldn't want to mention her name, and she didn't know. Is it Tosin that they are talking about? And for months, she couldn't even talk to me. She told, is this my own Tosin? And I remember the first lady in Lagos, after I was released, she called me to Marina and said, Tosin, we need to talk about this thing. This is not tidy. We need to find a way to help people that it will happen to. I mean the first lady.
Yeah, and after that, so before I even come to the aftermath, how did they collect the ransom?
Well, when they eventually said, okay, we should look for 5 million from 40 million, that was the last day, which is the 3rd day. So special thanks to friends, colleagues, pastor, everybody. There's nothing I can practically do. So they put the money together. My pastor, everybody that I wouldn't want to just mention them. I appreciate my colleagues. In fact, first of all, the gospel industry was thrown into pandemonium and chaos. I remember Sammy Opozo, Nathaniel Bassi, Big Bolaji, BJ Sachs, all of them. They didn't even know that 3 nights. They don't know where they are. They were just praying, because by the grace of God, I'm not just one of the portal in the industry in that regard. So Nathaniel, everybody was praying. Sam Opozo, I remember when they called Sammy, they told Sammy that they just kidnapped your friend. Sammy had to swear for the guy that called him that, I think you are joking, because Tosin and I spoke 2 days ago. We're on a project, and the pastor called Sammy back and said, Sammy, we are not joking. Say, you guys must be mad. You can't joke with me that they just kidnapped Tosin, because we spoke 2-3 days ago. So just for you to know the way it is, everybody was...
Were they speaking in English when they were making these calls, or you actually called them, or they made the call?
I know. I reached out to my assistant in church, and God bless his soul. God bless his soul. Afolabi, okay, wonderful guy. He did a great job for that 3 nights, because he was the one interfacing with these kidnappers and reaching out to my friends, family, and everything. He did a wonderful job. It will have been God too. So when we put the money together, they transferred the money. The people I was going to perform for, they had to transfer the money for them. They too, the event was just in a mess. That's story for another day anyway. Because imagine they are preparing for events. So the event was just sorrow, pandemonium, and chaos. People, their blood pressure was skyrocketing. They took some people to hospital. Everything was upside down, And they transferred the money to somebody in Kogi. And if I will bust, to my surprise, they said we had to rent somebody that will carry the money. Because majority of the people that carry the money, they don't even come back alive. The kidnappers might kill them. So we got somebody. The guy charged us, and they brought the money. So The kidnapper said they only need the number of the person bringing the money, and they will know whether the money is tracked, whether the person is tracked. They will know. And I was chatting with them in Hausa that how would they know? They say I should keep quiet. They say their intelligence is higher than we that went to university.
Obviously, because from what you're just saying.
So when they were bringing the money, they collected the guy's number. They called the guy's number. There's a way they will call the number. There's a way they will speak their language to some network, and they can. So they will be tracking the person bringing the money, knowing how many people they are coming, because they can see all this. They are professionals. So when they brought the money, they instructed the guy where to put the money, where they will meet him. So they collected the money and brought the money to my presence from the guy, and they released the guy. When they realized that the guy
was practically neutral,
the money wasn't tracked, because even if they collect the money and the money is tracked, because there's something that they will use to track the naira, that you know the location. So they discovered that, in fact, we were already begging them, because the people in Kogi that we went to perform for, they said no, they will track the money. I said we were begging them that, look, money, let the money just go. Let the money go, because we are with them. We've been with them for 3 days. We know how intelligent, how sharp, how connected they are. So we begged them that they should never track the money. Let the money go. So eventually, nobody tracked the money. We gave them the money. So they collected the money, checked the money. They flip one like this. I don't know how they track the money. So they flipped the money and said, hey. So they now came to me. They said they are sorry.
They now apologize after receiving the money.
They said it wasn't people like me they wanted on that particular day. That was when I knew that I wasn't set up. But they said that I was just their food for that day, and they had to just make money. They said, okay, you know what, Allergy, got 10,000. They were telling me the route to pass. Unfortunately, as they released me, another kidnapper wanted to kidnap us. I'm talking before God of my creator. That I'm telling you, because when they released me, when I got to the express, my guys were tired. They couldn't, because we have to walk from the bush, maybe another 45 minutes, 1 hour outside. So we were trying to look for a taxi. So we saw another bunch of kidnappers. They are everywhere. They have network everywhere. So I said to God that, is this in Nigeria? Because I lived in
How did you escape that? How did you know they were kidnappers?
Okay. So when we got out from the bush, we saw other people on the road, same road. And we are afraid because of our experience already. So we were looking for taxi. So the taxi couldn't come. So we were running on the road. We don't want to wait on one spot. As we were running, they were running after us. So a taxi came, and in fact, we were dragging one of my boys when we rushed into the taxi, because the taxi didn't practically stop. So we were now asking the taxi guy that the people running after us, is it there are another set of bandits?
This is not good.
Absolutely. This is
worrisome.
I grew up in Kano, in North, in this Jos, Kano, especially Jos, is like London.
Yes, that was what Jos used to be.
About 47, 48 years ago, I practically grew up in Jos. I went to Baptist Primary School, Jos, Baptist Primary School, Nasarawa, Kano. So this is a different story entirely now.
Now, when you came out,
yes.
Did you have conversations? Did you approach the security arm of government, or you already gave up?
Well, like I said, I'm a prince. My elder brother, a king, was already talking to the king in Kaba, talking to everybody. Then, by the grace of God, my people in Lagos, my excellencies, they were already trying to see what they can do, which they did. To be candid, the only report was that place is dangerous. If they attack the place, because we are many, they need to attack the place wisely. And what if they can't get 4 of us out, and in the process of rescuing us, they lose other people? But you see, they are talked to security agents. But what I can categorically say is that those people are working not by themselves. They are working with the people giving them guns, with the security agent, with the networks. I experienced that. Do you understand? So even if my people are trying to help me. They too, they are getting information from security agents and network.
Of course,
and that's why they change their
flouted.
location every few hours. We change location for about 5-6 times over 3 days. Changing location. And we might trek at 7, 8, 10 hours to just go to another place.